Hey guys, Christina here, and today I have an unboxing for you from The Good and the Beautiful. Now, I have a lot of books here to go through, from their 1B up to their level 12, as well as some curriculum. And I will try and remember to put the jump aheads or the timestamps so you can go to exactly what you're interested in. But I placed a large order because my son was starting high school 1 right after Christmas, and we needed a few things. And so I kind of planned that this would be our last physical order from them for at least 2 years, maybe 3, because shipping to Canada is just so expensive. So, and I apologize for the mess behind me. We're living in piles, part of life right now. So the first thing I got was 2 sets of the high school cards. Now I debated whether I should even get a third set because I have 3 boys really close in age. They're going to be in high school all at the same time. But I figured I'm not sure if my son in grade 12 excuse me, will actually still be doing that English, or he'll be maybe moving on to something else or be done. So I figured 2 sets should hopefully get us through all 5 of our children. So I got 2 of those. Then he already had everything else that he needed for the high school 1 except for the units and the answers, which I got the PDF because that is the most cost efficient with 5 children. I can just keep it and just print it for each child. But I did want to get the books that went along with the other levels so I could physically have them. So for high school 2, I got this book here, Harriet, the Moses of Her People by Sarah H. Bradford. It says, Harriet, the Moses of Her People is an inspiring true story of Harriet Tubman and her tremendous impact for good during a time of much oppression and hardship. As an enslaved woman, Harriet experienced countless adversities and cruelty. Why should such things be, she often pondered. Even as a child, she knew slavery was wrong and must end. As a young woman, Harriet slipped away from her slave master one night. Alone, she courageously made her journey to the north where freedom awaited her. Harriet eventually gained her freedom and, despite great peril and hardship, returned many times to the South to free her family members and hundreds of others. A woman of deep faith, courage, and love, Harriet prayed with complete trust that the Lord would hear and answer her prayers. She was fearless, for she knew God was at the helm and would guide her steps. Harriet's life is an example of dedicated service to God and her neighbors. Truly, she, like Moses, lived the commandments of God, and with his help delivered her people. Clearly, I'm having some trouble reading today. So this is a level 11. And then the next one for high school 2 is this book here, the Christoph von Schmid collection. And it says on the back, beloved 19th century priest and teacher Christoph von Schmid had a beautiful and engaging way of teaching important moral principles. He believed children learn and cherish these truths best when taught by examples of relatable and admirable characters. In this captivating collection of stories, readers come to know and love faithful Mina, whose simple earth and water pitcher brings remarkable blessings. Wise Frederick Walmer in a sacred painting that reveals a generation-long mystery. And honest Mary with her beautifully woven basket of flowers that both condemns and liberates hers. Though they each face difficult trials, these characters learn the value of trusting and loving God completely and witness the blessings that come when they put Him before all else. I'm really excited to read a number of these books as well. This is level 10. And then the next one is A Girl of the Limberlost by Jean Stratton Porter. Now I did read, what was the name of the first one? I'm looking at my pile over there. Can't remember the name off the top of my head, but I read that book. And it was good, so excited to see this one. This one is Spurned by her grieving mother since birth, 16-year-old Eleanor Comstock finds solace in nature, cultivating a collection of rare moths and other specimens from Indiana's Limberlost swampland. Eleanor desires above all the love of her unaffectionate mother and an education at the local high school. But without any financial support available, Eleanora must rely on her resourcefulness and determination to pay her way through school. So this is a level 11. That's that one. And then the next one is Men of Iron by Howard Ply, is how I want to say it. We've read one of his other books and it was quite good. This one is a level 11. It says, from the remarkable author Howard Pyle comes the 100-year-old classic coming-of-age story Men of Iron. Set in the 13th century era of knights and chivalry, this swashbuckling tale of adventure is filled with messages of honor, courage, and friendship. Miles Falworth is only a boy when his family is forced into hiding in a small town, away from the castle, for his father, a blind nobleman, has powerful enemies. At 16, Miles is surprised with the news that he will suddenly re-enter the world of knights and castles when he's sent to the household of Earl Mackworth to serve as a squire. Cocky and stubborn at first, Miles learns some crucial lessons that lead him to value restraint and integrity, turning him into a pure-hearted, virtuous knight who seeks to restore his family's honor. That one. The other one that's part of level 2, Sagebrush Surgeon, we already owned. So then I picked up for level 3. So this one is an Edgar Guest collection, The Call of the Woods. The name Edgar Guest has been associated with beautiful and uplifting poetry for nearly 100 years. Guest's poetry about home, family, and nature touched the hearts of readers since his first book was published in 1910. This collection includes poetry on family, home life, friendship, character, and nature. Also included are some of Guest's lesser-known essays that tug at the heartstrings just as much as his poetry, with reflections on his own life and experiences. Through his poetry and prose in this collection, Edgar Guest is sure to continue being a household name for generations to come. That's that one. The next one is The Little Duke by Charlotte M. Young. It is a level 11 as well. The Count of Harcourt came forward to Richard, bent his knee before him, took his hand, and said with a broken voice and heaving breast, Richard, Duke of Normandy, I am thy liegeman and true vassal. Then rising from his knees, while Ranulph de Ferris went through the same form, the old man covered his face with his hands and wept aloud. When 8-year-old Richard is thrust into the role of Duke of Normandy after his father's tragic death, he has no idea the danger that awaits him. The years following are fraught with challenges far beyond his years, but the Lord uses those experiences to bring young Richard to repentance and true humility. Readers young and old will appreciate this excellent historical fiction story filled with positive role models, sound historical facts, and an engaging plot. And then the next one is The Good and the Beautiful Short Story Collection. The Good and the Beautiful Short Story Collection brings together some of the best love stories from around the world. From medieval Asian and pastoral Russian villages to the industrialized streets of New York City and the picturesque coasts of Prince Edward Island, these tales celebrate character values such as love, gratitude, and charity, emphasize the power of forgiveness and redemption, and explore the challenges of mankind's morality in a manner that offers hope. Readers of all ages will be inspired by the beautiful messages found in this collection. It's a level 10. And just to let you know, so it has Introduction to Matsuo Basho, Charles Dickens, Louisa May Alcott, Leo Tolstoy, James Baldwin, L.M. Montgomery, and O. Henry. That's that book. The other one that is with this level, what is it called? Oh, The Angel of Crimea, Florence Nightingale. We actually own it on Audible. We listened to it already, so I decided not to buy the book. I may change my mind in the future, but it's quite a difficult book, I would think, to read. It's a heavy book, so we may just stick with that. Okay, and then I grabbed the high school honors books. Not sure if we're going to use them, but even if we don't, they are some great books. First one is Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen, and it's a level 11. It says the lovely young Bennet sisters, Jane and Elizabeth, are hoping to find their ideal husbands, men to bring them both love and financial security. When rich and handsome Charles Bingley moves into the neighborhood and his rich and handsome friend Mr. Darcy comes for a visit, the sisters' prospects look bright. However, while Mr. Bingley is instantly taken with Jane, Mr. Darcy is haughty and clearly about his disdain for the Bennet family's lack of station and decorum. After he rudely snubs Elizabeth at a party, it seems impossible that Elizabeth's and Mr. Darcy's first impressions of each other will ever soften into friendship, and certainly never love. In this timeless classic, Jane Austen masterfully weaves the perfect blend of comedy, drama, and heartwarming family love. With delightful language and unforgettable characters, readers enter the enchanting Regency era, where overcoming pride of station and prejudicial opinions of others is surprisingly relatable to today. I've never read Jane Austen, and I actually just really never had much of a desire to. I don't know. I recently watched a movie about her life, and it's so fascinating. I thought I want to read her books now, so I'm excited to read this book. And then the next one is Little Men. We already own that one, so I didn't buy that. The last one is The Screwtape Letters by C.S. Lewis. This is another one I myself want to read, so I'm glad we own it. Now this came not from their library, even though they sent it, so there's no reading level on it. And let's see if I can find a little summary. This classic has entertained and enlightened readers the world over with its sly and ironic portrayal of human life and foibles from the unique vantage point of Screwtape, a highly placed assistant to our Father Below. At once wildly comic, deadly serious, and strikingly original, C.S. Lewis gives us the correspondence of the worldly wise devil to his nephew Wormwood, a novice demon in charge of securing the damnation of an ordinary young man. The Screwtape Letters is the most engaging account of temptation and triumph over it ever written. Exciting. All right, so those are the books that I got to go along with the curriculum. All right, so now I'm going to go through the other books I bought. So the first one is 1B. It is Blake the Brave, part of the Gold Tales series. It says, Blake the Brave spends his days doing brave things and being a brave boy. One day he is faced with something he finds he is so afraid of, and there is no one nearby to help him. Will Blake find the courage to face his greatest fear? Okay, the next one is a level 2, Silver Tales, Hugo the Hero. All his life, Hugo has dreamed of being a hero, a mighty knight in shining armor. There's just one problem. Hugo never finishes anything. When a powerful thunderstorm threatens the village, will Hugo be able to step up, stick to the task, and save the day? Come along with Hugo as he discovers that doing the right thing, even when it's hard, is what makes a true hero. That's that one. Next one is Glenn and His Goat, Find Grandpa's Gold. This is a level 2 as well. Glenn and his goat go everywhere together. That silly little goat simply provides Glenn friendship and laughter until one day the goat helps Glenn find gold hidden in plain sight. This whimsically illustrated Silver Tales series story is just right for the level 2 readers who will grow in their appreciation of hard work, family tradition, and nature's gifts. Now, I also picked up Atlas and His Amazing Adventure. I already own this book. I even remember looking at it and I thought I had taken it off, but I ended up buying it. So I'll read the back to you, but my kids love this book and now we need to pass one on. Deep in the forest of the kingdom of North lives a little boy named Atlas, who dreams of one day becoming a map maker, just like his father. It seems like such fun to go on wonderful adventures exploring land that no one else has ever seen. Whenever he is invited to come along on a trip with his father, though, Atlas feels frightened of the unknown. Join Atlas and his best friend, Waffles the horse, as their bravery is put to the test in this beautiful illustrated story. All right, the next one is a 2B. This is Ollie the Ox and Other Animal Tales, and this just looks amazing. So cute. What is life like in the Arctic? Come along with Ollie the Ox and his herd of musk oxen to learn all about it. Then keep reading to explore the worlds of Sally the Sloth and Adam the Anteater. The fun facts and playful imagery in each tale will keep you smiling from beginning to end. My kids are actually going to love this. I know they're going to love this so much. Next one is level 3. It is Crooked Creek Ranch, and it says it's book 1, so I assume there's more coming out. It says there's never a dull moment when you live on an isolated cattle ranch in the hills of Southern California. Tag along with Sarah, Levi, and Tommy as they have hilarious and fun adventures. Based on true events from the childhood of the author's mother, these heartwarming stories reveal a glimpse into rural life in the early 1900s and focus on the unbreakable bond of family. All right, so next is this level 3, Whose Treehouse by Jean Castle. When young Jay visits his uncle and aunt on the farm, he discovers a remarkable surprise in a chestnut tree. Jay spends many nights there in the woods learning about nature's inhabitants. From a busy swallow family to a mother squirrel, he marvels at the new life around him. Just as he begins to make plans for his hideaway, a crafty new animal invades Jay's solitude, determined to stay and to make it her home. That sounds really fun. Next is a level 3 as well. Joey and Patches, the story of 2 kittens. Joey and Patches are having a wonderful time exploring the great outdoors with their mom and sister when they find themselves separated from their family. Lost, alone, and hungry, the kittens are frightened by a storm and take shelter under an old farm wagon. Unable to find their home again, Joey and Patches begin a new life of adventures. There we go. All right, level 3 again. Kidlick's Kayak by Terry Shannon. Kidlick and his younger brother, Taktu, are excited to make the long journey by themselves to the icy sealing grounds of the Arctic to hunt for provisions for their family. Come along in this exciting story as Kidlick, no longer a little boy, seeks to prove himself and battles the dangers that await. There we go. All right, next one is moving on to the level 4s. This is The Mystery of the Night Explorers by Mary Adrian. Facing your fear is much easier when there is a mystery to solve. With woodland creatures everywhere, they turn, and the elusive red fox lurking around, Randy and Jimmy are in for an exciting summer, full of interesting facts about the animals the boys encounter. The Mystery of the Night Explorers takes readers on a nature-filled adventure as Randy and Jimmy go on a quest for a very special treasure. That one sounds exciting too. Next one, Brian's Victory by Ethel Calvert Phillips. For all his life, Brian has lived at Happy-Go-Lucky, a lovely rural estate in England, but the blitz of World War II suddenly makes his home country a very unsafe place to be. Like many other young British children, Brian is forced to leave home for the duration of the war. Arriving in New York with his new kitten, Victory, in his arms, Brian resolves to be brave and to act with honor. There, he forms new friendships and learns how life in the United States works. His heartfelt sacrifice and honorable actions, along with his innocent faith in his country during its time of need, touch the hearts of many and earn Brian the respect of those around him. Next one, Johnny McKee and the Big Flood, and this one is by Eberl. Oh, I'm still saying that wrong. I'm so sorry. After exploring the woods with his friends, Johnny McKee makes a quick trip to the nearby Wolf Dairy Farm to see their horse, Red Boy. He could never guess the terrible situation he would cause due to a simple mistake. Things worsen when a natural disaster hits and Johnny finds himself in an increasingly dangerous situation. So a number of these books, they're for my kids to read, but also I like to use some of these for history and different time frames. So that's why I got some of those. All right, next. This is the last level 4 book. This is Beanie Boxed Set. It's by Ruth and Latrobe Carroll. So there's 2 different books here. So which one is first? Beanie and his dog. Beanie Tatum lived on a farm high in the Great Smoky Mountains. He had 3 toys of his very own, but he couldn't play with any of them. His red express wagon had a broken wheel. The broad rubber band on his slingshot had split in 2, and he couldn't play with a water wheel his grandfather had whittled out for him because Tantum Creek was frozen. But he did have something alive to play with, something of his very own. It was a puppy named Tough Enough. At first, the Tatum family likes Tough Enough, but in no time he manages to cause problems for everyone around him, and soon no one but Beanie likes him. When the family's favorite hens start to disappear and Tough Enough is suspected, Beanie is afraid his pa will get rid of his dog. Is Tough Enough really to blame, or can Beanie prove that he is a good dog after all? As Beanie sets out on an adventure with Tough Enough, he soon discovers why a dog can be a boy's best friend. Readers will enjoy the laughable antics of Beanie's playful dog, the vivid depiction of life on a mountain farm, and the loyal companionship of a boy and his dog. The second one is Beanie and his pony. All of a sudden, Beanie Tatum stood still. He had heard a distant barking. "Something's happened," he called out to his brothers and sisters. "That's tough enough barking, and barking back over yonder. He's barking his something's happened way." Something had happened. Tough Enough had found Sassy, one of hundreds of the ponies that run wild on the island of Shackleford Banks, where Beanie and his family were visiting their great-grandparents. Sassy, once a lively, button-nibbling pony, was down, hurt, and nothing but bones and hide. Beanie and Tough Enough devote themselves to nurturing Sassy back to health, and in the process develop a heartwarming three-way friendship that seems inseparable. But what will happen to Sassy when it's time for the Tatum family to return to their home farm in Appalachia? Readers will enjoy the beautiful descriptions of a summer spent in the Outer Banks of North Carolina, the loving interactions between this multi-generational family, and the humorous glimpses of mischievous mangery of critters that Beanie cares for and loves. So just my personal preference, anyone else like me? I hate when books are suddenly big and all the other ones have been this size. Ooh, it bugs me. But anyways, those two books in the box set, they sound really good. All right, moving on to level 5. The first one is Cherokee Run. This is by Barbara Smucker. Katie Becker is amazed at the wide expanse of blue sky and the endless prairie grass of her new Kansas home. After leaving Ukraine in search of religious freedom, Katie and her Mennonite family are ready to settle into their American homestead for good. However, when a hate-filled neighbor and swarms of grasshoppers tarnish their dreams, the family decides to take the risk and race to stake a claim in the newly opened Cherokee land of Oklahoma. Readers are inspired and entertained as they follow the Beckers' quest for a home of their own through hardship, new beginnings, faith, and intense excitement. This one is called Anne and the Island Storm by Elizabeth Bragdon. Anne doesn't know much about the world outside her island, and that's just how she likes it. She is the lighthouse keeper's daughter, and the cry of seagulls, the wild foaming sea, and the sturdy lighthouse tower are all she's ever known. She resents the summer people who come to picnic on the island because they don't know anything about the sea or her way of life. Anne's world gets turned upside down when Betsy comes to the island to stay with her grandmother. Betsy is a timid city girl who knows much more about apartments and traffic than crabs and boats. Together, Anne and Betsy learn that the world is much bigger than they thought, and that friendship can be found in the most unlikely places. That's that book. Make some more space here. All right, the next one is Ponies for a King. This is by Helen B. Walters. Again, level 5. The Morgan and Kern families have been enemies for generations. The families hate each other so much they live on small man-made islands, completely separate from their neighbors. Both families are raising beautiful ponies, hoping the king will buy them. These ponies are so important that These ponies are so important that young Lynn Morgan must live on the land away from his family for the entire summer to care for the ponies. Lynn protects them from violent thunderstorms and even a hungry pack of wolves, all while living next to his enemy, a young Kern boy. When an accident threatens the boys and their ponies, they must decide how important their family feud really is. That sounds like a good book. All right, so moving on to level 6. Blueberry Acres by Alice Greer Kelsey. This is quite a thin book. It says, life in the Ozarks is all the hunter children have ever known. So when mother and father move the family north to work in the fields as pickers, the children are certain that life will be miserable. They have heard stories of people from the north and how they treat pickers from the south. However, as the family begins work at Blueberry Acres, they soon discover the goodness that can be found in all parts of the country when you have people who care and come together no matter their circumstances. That one. This one, level 7, the story of John J. Audubon. I hope I'm saying that right, Audubon. And it's written by Joan Howard. A French orphan named Faugier is fortunate enough to be welcomed into a loving home with a doting mother, sweet sister, and proud father during the French Revolution. Throughout his childhood, he is drawn again and again to the study of birds. While confounding his father, who has other plans for him, his obsession with accurately drawing every bird he sees leads him on many adventures throughout his life. Eventually, Faugier changes his name to John J. Audubon, after whom an entire society devoted to the study of birds is named, the Audubon Society of America, which still exists today. Follow along as Audubon, supported by his steadfast wife and children, transformed the world of ornithology in the story of John J. Audubon. Hard words in there. Sounds very interesting. All right, this one is Trees and Their World by Carol Lane Fenton and Dorothy Constance Pallas. "Ki-oo, ki-oo," a sapsucker called as he flew through the woods. Soon he alighted on the trunk of a sugar maple. The maple stood at the edge of a pasture. Its trunk, therefore, was not very tall, and its branches spread upward in all directions. Trees and Their World take their readers on a unique journey from the forest to the swamp. This beautiful book exposes the fascinating inner workings of what are sometimes considered to be plain and ordinary trees. Through rich vocabulary and beautiful illustrations, authors Carol Lane Fenton and Dorothy Constance Pallas present these wonderful creations from leaf tip to root end. Next, level 7 is called Blitz. This is by Hetty Burlingame Beatty. This is one of their new ones. A number of these books were new releases, and so they were on sale. And then I actually had a coupon for 2 free books, which is nice. So that helps with the cost. Anyways, it says, when Bob Rogers first saw Blitz, his heart sank. Si's old mare had been fast, and nobody could beat Frank. But Bob shook his head when he looked over the clean, strong lines of Blitz's legs and body. He knew horseflesh well, and, to his reckoning, Blitz spelled speed. The fireman's dash to the station is always an event in the town of Drumlin, and no one enjoys it more than Blitz. Racing to each fire and getting there first fills his heart with excitement and satisfaction. One event brings his days as a fire horse to an end, though, and sends him through many unexpected hardships and joys. The story of Blitz is one of heroism and perseverance that will inspire readers of all ages. It sounds really good. I'm losing my light here. Hopefully I can get through the rest of these books. All right, moving on to level 8. This is the Saracen Steed by Arthur Anthony Glad. When a simple farm boy befriends a strange and beautiful horse that has wandered onto the lands of Abbey St. Simon, the boy cannot begin to imagine the adventures he will have upon its back. As all of Christendom hangs in the balance, young Hugh embarks on a mission with unfaltering bravery and a sense of duty that will leave even the most powerful leaders and hardened warriors awestruck. Against all odds, Hugh is determined to save his people from the Saracens with help from one of their very own majestic steeds. Set in the tumultuous times of the Crusades, this beautifully written story is an example of how a book can portray a violent time period without graphic details and can powerfully contrast right and wrong while remaining completely uplifting and appropriate. This adventurous tale has everything that makes a book good and beautiful, high moral and educational value, exemplary writing, and an intriguing plot. That's that book. Then we move on to A Little Princess by Frances Hodgson Burnett. I loved this story growing up, or I watched the movie, I should say. I've never read the book. I loved it. My daughter recently watched it as well and really enjoyed it, so thought it would be fun to actually read the book. So it says, Sarah Crewe is her father's little princess, as she has an extraordinary imagination. A stuffy English boarding school like Miss Minchin's select seminary for young ladies may stifle some children, but Sarah sees all the wonders of life and excites her fellow students as she turns the most mundane tasks into majestic events. When she receives devastating news that abruptly changes her comfortable life, Sarah resolves to carry herself with dignity and grace. Her possessions and her storytelling are colorful and exciting, but it's her kindness and strength of character that leave an impression on others and come back to bless her in remarkable ways. That's that book. The next one is Victory at Bear Cove, A Story of Alaska. This is by Elsa Peterson. Cautiously he parted the withered ferns that drooped among the alders at the edge of the cliffs. After staring long and earnestly, his intent face gradually glowed with a grin of delight. The scow with the snug little house aboard had been brought to the beach. There was an air of permanence about the establishment. It looked solid, fixed to stay. Already a path was beaten up the embankment and into the woods. Pete grinned to himself as he studied the scene. The Nielsens, it appeared, were in Bear Cove to stay. Step into the beautiful wilds of Alaska as you follow Pete Calgan and the adventures that come when a new family moves into Bear Cove. This engaging story is filled with powerful messages about family, loyalty, education, tolerance, friendship, trust, and love. That sounds really good too. So many of these sound so good. All right, so then moving on to level 9, Mystery on Heron Shoals Island. And this is by Augusta Huell Seaman. I don't think I'm saying that right. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, author. It says 15-year-old Marty, her grandmother, and their macaw, Methuselah, live in a big old family house on Heron Shoals Island. When they're asked to board a young musical prodigy, his father, and his professor for the next couple of months, Marty senses disaster on the horizon. The group soon becomes friends, though, and as they find themselves working together to solve a thrilling and complicated mystery. If they can solve it, life at the old home on Heron Shoals Island will never be the same again. Ooh, wonder what it is. Okay, so then moving on to level 10, Wave of the Storm by Corona Temple, I think it says. I have trouble reading that font. Okay. Anthony turned away, but as he turned, he caught sight of a heap of something white upon a piece of wreck. It was a child, a little girl, apparently about 6 years old, bound securely to a spar. It is dead, I doubt, the poor, tender lamb. The child is alive, though. As the sole survivor of a terrible shipwreck, the little girl is nursed back to health by Anthony, a grieving fisherman, who brings her home to his family. The children immediately call her Wavy, since she came to them from the waves. Who she is or where she comes from is a mystery, but Wavy soon steals the hearts of everyone she meets and becomes the very sunshine of Anthony's home, selflessly caring for his blind wife and befriending even the most unlikely neighbors. Not even the terrors of the stormy sea, the cruelty of others, sickness and poverty deter Wavy from following in Christ's ways. This is a beautifully descriptive, gently paced story that carries powerful messages of family, selflessness, triumph over trials, and God's unfailing love. The next one is The Island of Appledore by Cornelia Meeks. When 16-year-old Billy Wentworth is forced to spend the summer with his aunt on the tiny island of Appledore off the New England coast, he is determined to hate the place. But a salty old sea captain and a cheerful young girl quickly befriend him, and soon the three are caught in the middle of a dangerous plot. With a cunning and ruthless enemy lurking close by, Billy must gather all his courage to save his friends and defend his country from a war that's drawing ever nearer. Sounds exciting. Moving on to level 11, we got this book here, Nearby by Elizabeth Yates. This warm, inspiring story set in rural New England village called Nearby is brought to life through the eyes of Marty, the new teacher who devotes herself to changing prejudices and lifting her students' minds and hearts to a higher place. With beautiful description, award-winning author Elizabeth Yates weaves a complex plot packed with enduring characters and powerful messages. Nearby is a wonderful example of literature that can address deep, mature issues such as prostitution, suicide, neglect, and lust versus love in a way that is not overly descriptive or dark, maintaining an underlying feeling of light and hope. Especially for older teenagers and adults, this clean language version of Nearby is a deeply inspiring book with one of the most beautiful feel-good endings to a book I have ever read. I cannot wait to read this book. Really excited. And finally, a level 12 book, A Loyal Foe by Ivy Mae Bolton. A Loyal Foe takes a true-to-life look at a grievous and difficult time period, the War of the Roses. Young Rex is surrounded by dark elements that were rampant at the time, treachery, vengeance, and hatred, but he stands out as a shining example of courage, love, and loyalty. Pondering a riddle covered into the tower of his home, he could never imagine how drastically his life was about to change. Plagued by secrets of his childhood he does not understand, pursued by thirsty enemies set on vengeance, and wrongly accused of high treason, Rex wonders what dangers he will encounter next. Through the heroic examples of his beloved father and the faithful devotion of his young king, Rex models what it means to be a courageous and loyal in the most tragic of circumstances. Sounds really good too. So many sound amazing. And that's it. Those are all the books. So Let me know down below if you've read any of these books, if you've really enjoyed any, or if you have any questions. I can try and answer them for you, knowing I haven't read all the books yet. But that is what I have for you today. So I hope this finds you having a great day. Take care.